Hi,
This
this is
meeting is
Mark.
being recorded.
Hi, this is Mark Arnold with Fun Ideas Podcast, and today I have a returning guest, Mark Slade, who has now agreed to write a book about Crazy Magazine from Marvel Comics. And we have one of the people who drew for that magazine, Bob McLeod. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thanks.
So, we both have questions. I think Mark has
Hey,
more
Mark, how
questions
you
than
doing?
me, so I'll let him kind of take the
Oh,
lead
let me
on
get them
his
up.
questions. And but you kind
Oh,
of worked for
okay.
Crazy throughout the whole timeline, off and on, correct?
Off and on, yeah. I wish I had done a lot more on it, actually. You get kind of caught up in your career, and Marvel keeps offering you jobs. So I just kind of just kept taking these jobs when they called me up and offered me a job, and I just didn't get, time to do more on Crazy, but I always wanted to.
Mhm.
Right, right. Because well, let me go back. Let me ask you. You always had an interest in cartooning. Who were your influences for cartooning?
Very early on, I would say Walt Disney. Um, I,
Right.
would copy drawings of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and then I started reading comics of cartoon characters like that. So I had some coloring book with, I think, like Deputy Dog in it. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fred Flintstone, that kind of stuff. So I was doing a lot of that, and copying, like, peanuts out of the newspaper strip. Um, but Walt Disney was my early influence, and then around junior high school, I discovered Mad Magazine and Mort Drucker and Jack Davis, all those guys, and just fell in love with satirical art.
Okay. All right. All right.
Is
Mark,
that
you
what?
got an
Yeah, I was gonna
more?
say. I'll follow up with that. Is did that what led you to being chosen to work for Crazy, or did you ask like Marv, "Hey, I can do a parody here"? How did you get in the first place?
I mean, I was originally hoping to work for Mad Magazine, and had done Mad style samples. It was basically all I could do at that point because I had been studying Mad for so thought about work hard, either work for Mad, um, which I tried to get a strip syndicated when I was, I think, around 21 or so.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was working in the production department up at Marvel doing lettering corrections and art corrections, and I would see the editors every day and show them stuff I was doing for fun and working on. And I had little satires of Tarzan and Superman that I had drawn little one-page gags about, and Marv saw them. I either showed them to him or he came by and saw them when I was showing them to somebody else, and so he knew I could do a Mad style of artwork. And Crazy, back when I did that first job of Westworld, Crazy was just getting started. I think that was in issue number 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were looking for
Yep.
art.
I was just reading it.
It's a horrible job.
Right.
I was just starting out, and really was still learning my craft. I was so excited, when I got that job. I said, "Wow, I've made the big time."
I liked it. I mean, like I said, I was looking at your expressions that you had drawn on everybody, and I'm going, if you've ever seen the animated show Courage the Cowardly Dog, I'm like, I wonder if they looked at Bob's art in Crazy, because they do those expressions a lot on
Yeah.
that show. Yeah.
Well, I would have to give Mort
So
Drucker a lot of the credit for that because I studied his work so much and copied so much of his work, even into the New Mutants. When I draw comics, there's a huge influence from Mort Drucker still in my work. I don't know if others can see it, but I see it and I know it's there. And the thing that I do differently from most comic artists, I feel, is I try to draw individuals rather than standard superhero, you know, characters. So I'm thinking of individual noses, individual ears, individual facial structures. Because
Right.
that's what was fun for me when I was looking at Mort Drucker.
Right. Oh, I have another question about your Westworld work. I mean, so did Marv give you a script, and did you watch the movie? Did you have to go to the theaters and take notes? Because nowadays you can just look at streaming, or you can look
Yeah,
at a
there was
video
no
cassette or
streaming back then.
DVD. Or did you have photos? Was it photos that you had to
Yeah,
look at?
actually, Marvel Comics paid for Marv and me to go to the theater and watch the movie.
Hmm.
And Marv was there taking notes as he watched it. And I was just kind of visually absorbing everything. And then they gave me nice, big, glossy photos to work from to do the caricatures and everything. It was amazing. It was wonderful. Like I say, I really felt like I was in the big time, major leagues.
Yeah,
Were
Yeah.
you doing any sketching in the
that's
movie
cool.
theater? Or...
No, because it was too dark.
Okay,
I might have
gotta
even
figure.
taken a notepad to do sketches, maybe. I don't remember doing any because you're sitting in a dark theater,
Mhm.
and I was just paying attention to the movie, trying to think, be aware of how they're showing things and what they're showing, and how I might be able to use that information later. Usually when you watch a TV
Oh, okay,
show
okay.
or a movie, you're just kind of following the plot and the story. But as an artist, I try to be aware of the camera angles and how they're showing you something, not just what they're showing, but
Yeah.
how are they showing it? How are they cropping it? What are they choosing to show and what are they choosing not to show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, had you done
Okay.
caricature work prior
Yeah.
to that?
That's interesting. I mean,
Yeah, prior to that, yes, not a lot. I'm trying to remember when I first did a show. Somebody had a party. I think that was a couple years after that, though. Somebody had a party and paid me to do caricatures of all the party guests for free. So they paid me a fee to be there, and then just anybody could come up and I'd do a quick caricature of them in a few minutes. Um, and it was fun. Women are much touchier about their caricatures than men are. You have to still kind of make the women attractive if you're doing a caricature of them. So it's kind of dicey, but I've always enjoyed doing caricatures. Yeah.
okay. Um, let's see. Well, what editor did you like working for most of all at Crazy Magazine?
Um, Jim Owsley was the writer on Teen Hulk, and
Oh,
I believe he was also the editor. All the Marvel editors, whether it was on Crazy or any of the regular comics, um, were I never had a problem with the ones I was working with, except for one guy that'll remain nameless. But most of them very easy to work with, and you know, I, my time on Crazy, particularly, whoever the editor was, and I think it was Jim Owsley, uh, was super fun. Um, uh, and just good memories from everything I did on Crazy.
Actually, it was
oh,
Larry
okay,
Hama, Larry
okay.
Hama at that time, but
Okay, Larry
Jim probably
Hama.
had an editorial capacity too. I don't know.
Well, Larry Hama was at
Yeah, I think he's
Neil
associated.
Adams Continuity Studios when I was, and he was one of the first people I met in the business. And so Larry and I have always been friends, and he's super supportive and easy to work with.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. You were one of the crusty bunkers. That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Great experience. I mean,
Well,
nothing could beat that experience because again, I was starting out and I was working right alongside Russ Heath and Neil Adams, all these experienced, fantastic, artists. And I would do a hand and they would do the shoulder, we just do little body parts a lot of times instead of anything complete. Neil wanted us mainly be doing backgrounds or really minor characters in the background. But every once in a while we would sneak in a guy a little closer to the hero and try to do as much as we could. And we'd get paid Neil's page.
right.
So Neil had the top page rate in the business and he would pay us at his page rate. Incredible experience.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, what was your favorite feature or parody that you did for Crazy? Was it Teen Hawk?
Well, I love Teen Hulk. That was so much fun. So I'd have to say that of the movie satires I did, probably Apocalypse Now. Apocryphal
Oh
Now
yeah.
was the title of it. I think I did my some of my best stuff there. I did an Empire Strikes Back satire that I thought I did a good job on. Everything I did, that's really where my heart is with humor. So I was just having a great time on all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I remember from your the first interview I did with you for the Marvel book. It's pretty interesting how you went through, especially the Krusty Bunkers. That's a great story. You know how you were on your last $5 or something, and you just went into the office and asked for a job and stuff. That's pretty good, you
I was
know.
very lucky to meet Pat
Yeah.
Broderick, who I became friends with and roommates with, and then he introduced me to Neil Adams. Just being in the right place at the right time, can make a huge difference. And all those people, I mean, Neil was great, always trying to help other artists. Everybody around continuity, uh, very supportive and just a wonderful experience. In retrospect, especially, I mean, at the time, I didn't have anything to compare it to, and I just kind of took it all for granted. But in
Yeah.
retrospect, an amazing experience.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wonder how many artists and writers who have went to New York thinking they can get into the business and just never broke in, you
Yeah.
know, at all.
Yeah.
It's
Like
pretty
you said, I
amazing.
was down to my last few bucks, ready to go back home because I was just getting rejected left and right.
Where was home? Just out of
Well,
curiosity.
I was living in Tampa, Florida.
Oh, okay.
I'm from Tampa, Florida originally.
Mhm.
right, right. And it was Joe Orlando who told you that you need to go to school, and I was like, wow, that's pretty
Yeah, I
harsh.
went
But
up to DC
maybe that was his
to,
job, was to be harsh.
he wasn't harsh about it. I mean, I went up there hoping to get work at DC, and he was very nice, actually. He looked at my samples and spent some time with me and very
Right.
politely said I needed to go back to school and learn how to draw. I mean, he was nice about it, and he gave me a little quick demonstration of what he was talking about. With a ballpoint pen, just quickly did a little figure, constructing the figure the way he thought I was not doing,
Hmm.
which I wasn't. So, it's it was a harsh thing to hear, but he said it in a nice way.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Mark, you have any questions?
Um, well, one piece you did, I know there was like a gap of you working at Crazy. You did that Westworld piece, and then you came back and did a number of things for Larry. But you did like a piece in the middle, I noticed, like for issue 27, I wrote it down as TV scenes we want to watch. I don't know if you remember that specific one, but you said you were doing caricatures. So you did caricatures of like Harry Reasoner and Barbara Walters, Howard Cosell, Muhammad Ali, and Alex Trebek. I mean, do you have any memories of that particular piece?
I
'Cause,
do,
yeah,
sure. That was a fun thing to do. The Waltons, there was a little strip making fun of the Waltons there,
yeah,
that I had fun with. Yeah, I mean, again, you know, I was working at the same time as Mort Drucker was working in Mad. So you're working, not competing with your hero, but kind of doing the same thing as your hero. And obviously, Mort Drucker was doing it much better than I was. But at the same time, I was trying my best to be on a similar playing field with him. So it was very intimidating, but at the same time, I was having a blast.
mhm. Now, during that time, Paul Lakin was the editor, and I was just wondering how that worked because I interviewed Paul Lakin years ago, and he didn't really come into the Marvel offices. He was working out of his home with his kids. So, was it a different situation when you got that one assignment, or how did that work?
They must have called me on the phone and offered it to me, or maybe when I was up in the office one day, they just said, "Hey, we've got this script. Do you want to do this?" More likely is how it happened. Uh, Often at that time in the business, you didn't meet the penciler you were inking or the editor you might be working with. Everybody was in their own little world there, and it was all through FedEx or over the telephone or just everybody was in a different place. So the lot of people I worked with over the years I never met.
Hmm.
And I did not meet him as the editor. He must have either had an assistant give me the script, or I'm not sure exactly where I got that script from. And again, I would have been doing more of those, but my inking career at that time was just really going great guns, and I was just getting jobs right and left, and just didn't have time.
Right. um, So, it's funny, and I'm sure Mark will agree with me, is that as kids, when you're reading Marvel comics and they say the Marvel bullpen, you think everybody's in one big spot, one big happy family, and it's kind of a disappointment to find out no, everybody's in their own home doing their own thing.
Well, at different periods, that could change, because when I first got up there, I was working in the production department, and Mike Esposito, a longtime inker, Frank Giacoya, another longtime inker, had their desk right there in the production department, like right next to me. Um, so they were there. Stan Lee was right around the corner. John Romita was like 10 feet away in his office. Marie Severin was right around the other corner down in her office. So there were, and Ross Andrew was up on the floor above. You could go up and see him drawing on his drawing table. Um, there were people there, uh, but really there wouldn't be room for everybody to work there. So everybody was in a studio someplace or at home
Right.
for the most part.
Mhm. That's all I have really for
Right.
him. So, so,
Oh,
Mark, if you have a few more questions, go for
well,
it.
yeah. Well, one thing I'm thinking, rereading these, I think Marvel missed the boat, or even editors at crazy, because you and Marie Severin should have been the main artists, I think, throughout the entire run. It's, I think they missed the boat on that, but I guess they didn't want to lose her in production. They didn't want to lose you as an inker.
Marie, yeah, Marie did an
Maybe that's
awful
what it
lot.
was.
She did an awful lot for Crazy, much more than I did probably. But Crazy didn't pay as well as the color comics, because we got better royalties on the color comics. So everybody,
Okay.
there was a little more prestige with the superhero stuff, than there was with the humor stuff. So everybody
Yeah.
would kind of put that first and crazy second. So everybody that worked on Crazy had fun with it. We all enjoyed our time on Crazy. John Buscema did some stuff, Neil Adams did some stuff for them, but they Crazy didn't have the budget, I don't think, to just say, "Hey, Bob, we want you full time. We want you doing this and this and this and this,"
Oh
instead
yeah.
of me doing Spider-Man or the New Mutants.
Mhm.
Right. And I've been emailing Marv Wolfman back and forth about this, and one of the answers he gave me was that he wasn't allowed to poach anyone from Marvel's staff or from the comics. He had to somehow get uh, contributors if they, I don't know how he went about it, but he said I wasn't allowed to poach any of the Marvel artists and
Well,
writers.
that explains why he grabbed me up out
So
of
how
production.
that worked out later on with Larry.
Yeah, he came and grabbed me out of the production department because that wasn't stealing me off of a comic.
Mm.
Right, right.
So that explains my first job. Yeah,
That's
but
funny. Right, right.
sometimes artists only wanted to work for Crazy because they weren't skilled at doing the more dramatic comics. And sometimes
Yeah.
artists, you know, wanted to do something different than what they had been doing, so they would, maybe ask for a job on Crazy.
Okay, okay. Well, let's see. Uh, well, do you think that the magazine ever went too far or not far enough? And what's your take on censorship? That was one of the questions I wanted to ask you.
I think, you know, Marvel was probably following Mad Magazine's lead a little bit. Um, I don't think they were going to do anything that they might get in trouble for if they could help it. They leaned a little more conservative, probably. They weren't trying to be too outrageous. Now the artists might have tried to sneak something in, or one of the writers, but as far as the editors probably had to rein us in a little bit, I would think, rather than say, "Hey, you know,
Right, right, right.
let's do some nudity or something, or let's do something that's going to get some real reaction." I don't think they were trying to shock anybody.
Right, right. What's your take on all that? Do you think that they could have done that and
I
have been
think I think
okay?
you
Or
need Yeah, I think you need to be aware of who your audience is, and if your audience is 8-year-olds,
right,
that's one thing, and if it's 28-year-olds, that's something else. And I don't have any problem with doing some more adult stuff, some more things that are political or whatever. I mean, it's one of the things I liked about Mad Magazine was all their political satire. And the National
right,
Lampoon magazine, same thing. Um, I think you have to be careful of who you're marketing it to is the only thing.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that
I see what you're saying.
I think on political stuff, I'll just say this is, maybe during the Nixon years with Watergate, they're a little more pointed, but later it was just kind of silly Jimmy Carter's big teeth or something like that, or Reagan's big hair or something. It wasn't ever anything about real political issues.
Yeah, and I
Right,
wonder, I feel like Mad Magazine, because I read it a lot in the 60s, not so much later on, but I'd see it occasionally. And I felt like Mad got more and more juvenile in their humor, whereas in the 60s, when I first discovered it, it was more political and more adult, written kind of on two levels. So kids could enjoy it and adults could enjoy stuff that maybe went over the kids' heads. And I really feel like I read it during my formative years and it influenced my politics. And so I'm more
Yeah.
liberal and democratic probably because I read Mad Magazine.
Right. So, were you working for the magazine until the end? I'm not sure on that. And were you all notified that it was canceled? So I was looking through the last issue, and it just looks like it was going to be a regular issue, and then all of a sudden it maybe changed into the last issue.
I was down in Florida at that time, I believe, not in New York. So I wasn't still working for Crazy. And I'm sure it just they canceled it because of sales. So many books just suddenly were not there
Yeah.
anymore. It's just it's a money business. They're trying to make money, and they can't publish stuff that isn't making any money for them. So it went through a period where all of the humor magazines, DC's humor magazines, everything uh, well, might be when everything went to the direct market instead of newsstand sales. I
Mhm.
have to look back at the timeline,
Yeah.
but they started. Everything got darker and more violent, and the humor stuff just went away.
Yeah.
And then you started seeing, Dark Knight and Wolverine's claws and all that stuff. Um, the what the fans wanted, or at least the fans what they thought the fans wanted, was not what it had been. And a lot of that is just the editor's opinions. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily
Yeah.
facts.
But I guess Crazy did have a pretty good run. It was about a decade,
Well, that
so
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, but I think Crack Magazine was still going on after Crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, Crazy is long in comparison to, other humor magazines that might last like three issues,
Yeah.
but you know, but yeah, Cracked and Mad are like the granddaddies or National Lampoon. Yeah.
And Mad really was kind of limping along. I mean, I think Mad's still going along in some
Yeah,
respect.
it's in
Um,
reprints, but yeah, yeah,
yeah, but I mean, times change, audiences change. What can you do?
yeah.
Time marches on.
Mhm.
Well, that brings me to, I guess, my last question was, do you think a humor satirical magazine could survive these days? And I mean, especially with the cancel culture and everything, and be kind of stepping on toes, walking around eggshells, and even with Crazy as, you know, might, in your opinion, might have been more conservative. Some of the humor, even in the more conservative time period, would be, you know, causing people, to be upset about, which is crazy in my opinion. So I think everything should be satirized and parodied, but not everybody thinks that. But do you think a magazine like that could survive today?
Well, it's if you look at the stand-up comics of today, people have said they
Yeah,
can't even do their act in front of college campuses anymore because people are so sensitive. They have to be really careful not to offend anyone. Our society right now is going through a phase where everybody is super sensitive and often just seems like they can't take a joke.
yeah,
I'm with you. I think everything should be able to be satirized. Everybody should be able to understand uh, things in context and the intent of something that's being said or
yeah,
written, and not just assume, not take it personally as an attack when someone says something uh, that might have some relation to you personally, because comedians are just trying to be funny. They're not trying to insult people. Don Rickles aside.
right. I was going to say that. or Bob Saget even,
Yeah,
his act.
yeah. But I mean, if you just look at the
Uh,
TV
yeah,
comedians
that's
and the
what you
stand-up
said.
comedy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like Jerry Seinfeld said that he just does not do colleges anymore. That was a big chunk of his tours
Yeah.
was colleges, and he said when I made the joke about people flipping through their phone like a gay Frenchman, they got upset. It was like,
Yeah, I mean,
well, I mean,
it's
he's right. It does look like that. With the sliding up.
yeah, I mean, we're laughing,
So
but it's silly, but
Yeah.
that society is in a strange place right now.
yes, sure
Well, now,
is.
now, Mark,
Absolutely right, Bob.
I'm gonna have to put a warning in front of this show.
Because I said that.
Yeah.
Well, I
You're
won't
gonna have to,
listen to it because you got to put a warning on it.
yeah, you're gonna have to cut that out.
All
But
right.
to answer your question, no, I think a satirical magazine would have a hard time being published today.
Yeah. I always wonder if it's just magazines
Yeah,
in general, because people get their humor from social media or Saturday Night Live or somewhere else instead of a magazine. What's your take on that?
Yeah, because people don't read as much as they used to. They don't read anything, comics or novels or, whatever. They're reading their screens now and watching TV and playing video games, and they're just not. They're sure, obviously, are people still reading, but it's the percentage has gone down. I've talked to schools quite a bit. Tomorrow, I'm visiting my
that's true.
granddaughter's school, doing a career day visit, and I'll ask how many kids in here have ever read a comic, and they might raise their hands, but what they're thinking of is a graphic novel or something with cartoons in it, but not comic books, because comic books are hard to come by now. Compared to when I was a kid, I could go down to the corner newsstand or the drugstore, what we had five and dime stores, and comics were everywhere. Now you got to go in these little strange stores called comic shops and seek them out. So people don't read comics. They don't read even books. I meet so many people, even teachers, that don't read. It's astounding. But, society is getting much more
Yeah,
visual and
it is
less
astounding.
with printed matter. Yeah.
See, I work part time at a school, and um, I heard the principal was talking about Stephen King, and I overheard another teacher, younger teacher, turn to her friend and says, "Who is Stephen King?"
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe that she said that.
Wow.
That's that's unbelievable. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know anybody in the world who didn't know who he
He's
was.
he's one of the
So yeah,
most
yeah, you're
uh,
right.
most popular writers in the world. In fact, it's funny you bring him up. I'm working my way through all of his novels. I'm trying to read everything he's written because I really enjoy his writing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. What's your favorite so far?
Oh, I have a few. I enjoyed Levin, what is it, 2363 or whatever, the one about the Kennedy assassination.
Oh yeah, I read that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little time travel.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I enjoyed Mr. Mercedes, Do McKee,
Yeah.
of course, The Stand, and I mean, there's so many. I like a lot of them. Pet Cemetery, I thought was very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
movies have not done him justice. I think every instance I can think of, the book was better. Um, The Shining was a great movie, very different from his book, and I don't think he liked it because it was
Right.
so different. Um, but I don't think, well,
Yeah.
for instance, the one about the Kennedy assassination, I couldn't even watch the TV version of it. I thought it was horrible compared to the book. I turned it off.
Yeah, I think I only got through one part of it, like maybe 20 minutes of it. And yeah, yeah, I could get into it. Yeah, it was hard.
But then I talked to somebody who hadn't read the book, and they thought it was great.
Yeah, there you go. Well, maybe you should reach out and see if you can adapt one of his short stories or books, and that would be cool. It'd be a cool project.
I'm sure I would enjoy that. But I'm not doing a whole lot of comic work anymore right now. I'm just starting, I'm going to write a graphic novel and work on that over the next year or so.
Is that for any
Oh, awesome,
particular
awesome.
publisher or anything, or no?
Not yet. I'm
Okay,
just barely in the early stages of it, and I don't want to say anything more about it except
that's
that
fine.
I think it'll be fun and I'm excited about it, and it's going to keep me busy.
Cool. Look forward
Oh,
to it.
cool.
Any personal appearances or anything in the next few months?
Sure. I'm going to be at a local Lehigh Valley Comic Con next month, and then I'll be at the Philadelphia Fan Expo in May. I'll be at Heroes Con in June in North Carolina. Terrificon later in the year, Baltimore Con. So I'm doing a few Comic Cons every year, and occasionally you can catch me in a comic shop or school or someplace.
Right. Oh, I wanted to ask you, did you like the Marvelous Bronze Age, the book that we sent you that you're
Sure.
in?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Yep. Um, Very interesting. Lot of good stuff in there. It was fun to look at.
Yeah, yeah. I did include one picture that I had emailed you that I found in a Foom, I think, is where I found one with you with the long hair, and you said, "Oh my God, ugh." So I was like, "Yeah, maybe I shouldn't include that in the book."
Yeah, I guess I didn't look in the mirror back then, how awful I looked.
Right.
I don't know. Everybody had long hair for the
I didn't
most
think
part.
you looked awful. You were just it was the times.
It was the
Yeah,
times,
well, it
yeah.
was the times, and you had the long hair, you know, you're fitting in with the crowd.
I
It's fine.
don't know, good
I thought you
times.
were great looking in the picture, so.
All right. Well,
Yeah, yeah. When we're pretty much done with this book, would you? Oh, I was going to ask, would you be interested in writing the forward to it?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give that a shot. Let me know when you're ready and I'll see what I can do for you.
very good.
All right.
Well,
Okay, it doesn't have to be long. It can be one sentence if you want.
crazy is great. Bob McLeod.
No, I would enjoy doing that.
Right.
It's just a real shame you couldn't get Marie Severin to do it.
Yeah,
She's not here anymore, and she would have been amazing.
Yeah,
She was a wonderful lady. But I'd be happy to do it.
very cool.
appreciate it. Appreciate it, Bob. And I got that idea from I just now started Mark's book about Pratt, and oh my goodness, who was it that just sent you the one sentence that was the introduction? Who was it, Mark? I can't remember.
Oh,
Uh, oh
can't
man,
remember myself.
uh,
for
uh,
for craft or
Spider-Man artist,
oh,
huh?
okay. Steve Ditko. Yeah,
It was for Pratt.
yeah, Steve Ditko. Yeah,
Steve Ditko. He
because
said, I can't provide the information that you're wanting.
yeah, and I made it the forward of my book just kind of a joke, but it's the truth. It's like he had done some work for Cracked probably for about 4 or 5 years in the late 80s. And it was called Robot Wars. It wasn't that significant compared to Spider-Man or Doctor Strange, but I figured, well, he might answer some questions about it. And then he just sent me a little postcard says, I can't provide the answers you're looking for. And so I made it the forward of my book. What's he going to do? Get mad at me?
That's a riot. Yeah, I've never met him, but everything I've seen, he chooses his words carefully, and there's not that many of them.
Yeah. So I
Right.
figured I was
Right.
doing my.
There's a video on YouTube.
Mm,
There's a video on YouTube where he's narrating his beliefs. It's pretty interesting. I think it's only like less than 10 minutes. Maybe it's 6 or 7 minutes. Y'all should look it up. It's pretty interesting. I don't know how these people got the audio because I didn't think he did things like that. So
I don't know. He must be an interesting person to know.
Yeah. I do know that, just as an aside, when Mort
yes, sir.
Todd used to work with him, I don't know if you know who Mort Todd is. He worked at Marvel briefly too, but uh, he said that he would talk about Spider-Man and other things. He just wouldn't do it publicly. If you're, with him privately, yeah, he'd talk your ear off.
Oh,
So,
Well, he might be a smart guy. Who knows? maybe, maybe that's the
that's
approach
great.
we should take.
yeah. Anyway, I don't have anything else. Do you
Yeah,
have anything else, Mark? Or
me either. No,
okay,
that's it. That was
all
it.
right.
Well, my time on Crazy was unfortunately brief and hopefully somewhat memorable. I certainly have very fond memories of it and enjoyed it a lot. And I have met fans over the years that like Teen Hulk and enjoyed my work there. And it's always great to hear someone compliment me on that as opposed to anything else I did in the superhero books.
Mhm. Well, that would be compliments from me because that's the stuff I like the best is all the humor stuff. So that's how I knew you.
Well, that's great. I'm with you there.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Bob McLeod, for being my special guest. I want to
Right.
thank you, Mark Slade, for some good questions here. And that wraps it up for another episode of Fun Ideas Podcast. And this is Mark Arnold, your host. We'll see you next time.